Welcome back to Work Besties Who Podcast, where we help you grow your career with the support only a true work bestie can give.
It's February, Authenticity and Personal Branding Month. Today we are going deeper than just be yourself, because a lot of us want to be ourselves, but we've learned to survive at work by wearing masks. The higher performer mask, the people pleaser mask, the I'm fine mask.
And here's the twist. Those masks quietly become your personal brand.
Today, we are joined by Adriana Vaccaro, CEO and founder of Culture Redesigned. She combines behavioral science and a real-world business lens, process improvement, HR leadership, culture strategy, to help people turn values into actions that actually change outcomes.
Stay to the end because we're going to ask Adriana the question that we know every single one of you work besties is secretly wondering. If unmasking feels risky, what's the first mask you should take off?
Let's unmask.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry.
Work Besties!
Adriana, thank you
Hi,
for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here.
You're founder of the Cultural Redesign, and you work with many, many different individuals to help turn their values into actions. We wanted to first start off by asking, what is the most typical type of focus that people come to you to work on?
So usually the perfectionist is, what I get the most. They're getting to this level of burnout, and they don't realize they have to let go of that mask. So that is very typical for high performers. And then the other one is the leader that wants people to feel good at work, and they're really trying to create that culture of psychological safety and trust, and they don't know how. And we try to navigate how do we condition the environment so that we can put down all our masks.
So talking about mask, what does really mean unmasking at work?
Well, let's talk about what a mask is first, right? We all have a beautiful, wonderful brain, and our brain has the amygdala, so we get easily triggered. And a lot of times we start putting on masks to keep our amygdala under control, to tell ourselves they want an outgoing person. Let me put that mask on. Or they want a person that doesn't complain. Or they want the person that is not looking at the clock because I want to go see my kids. They don't want to see that here. So we put that other mask. So it's a defense mechanism because we think it's what the environment is asking for us. And the main reframe of this work is, instead of modifying the human to fit the environment, we want to condition the environment so that the human can be authentic.
How many masks are there?
I mean, well, what do you think? How many masks are you familiar with? If we think about it, there are just so many. And in reality, when we are thinking about what others want, we're basing our behavior on what other people want. We are creating a mask that we put on, and we get comfortable with it. And when we get comfortable with it, we start sort of not forgetting who we are, but we start driving away from our core values, which is not a flowy, easy way to live our life.
More or less, it's kind of you put the mask to protect yourself from the environment.
Yes, but you're still there. Like, we can even get comfortable with a mask, but our true self is still under it. So when we talk about what's the opposite of a mask, it's not really necessarily only unmasking, it's psychological safety. When the environment embraces us with all our imperfections, that is when we feel it's okay to say, I want to leave work at 5 p.m.
I love how you stated that. First of all, I'm so excited for this topic because I personally feel I relate to wearing masks. And I know for myself, my mask as being that chameleon or changing based upon the situation that's going on. And what you just stated about it being a safety, it resonates for me, because what I do is test the water. Instead of becoming into a situation and where you have that give and take, I automatically go into ask questions and make that other person feel comfortable, because once they're at ease, then I start to feel like, okay, maybe now I can show a little bit of myself. And now I realize why I'm doing it.
If we are uncomfortable with conflict, that chameleon is sort of a solution, because it's easier to agree, right? There was a CEO I was coaching at one time, and he has a large national organization, and he will travel to different places and always agree with whatever the director was doing there. He didn't even notice it at the beginning, but he will go to Minnesota and they love hockey, and he will be like, I also love hockey. Like something so small. And then he will go to another state, and there he will love baseball or football. But then when people got together, they will be like, oh, he loves the Bruins. And people are like, he's not a hockey guy. He's a baseball guy. Even though it's such a simple, almost irrelevant conversation, why do you have to love every sport? Why do we think we have to agree with someone else's passion? And it was a great place to start creating that strength to say, I love baseball, I appreciate hockey, I understand the game. It's not my favorite sport. Like, I will still enjoy a game, but being true to who you are. And we started practicing with that topic, but that gave him the ability to become stronger at saying, I don't like the way you are pursuing this project. It was just creating that comfort.
So now we understand the mask is really to help with that psychological safety. So how do you get away from, like, say, you can unmask, you're going to be safe. So how do you achieve that?
Well, I think when we understand our own behavior, and let's say we decide, I want to be more authentic about a particular subject. And then I always bring people inwards first, because there are two things that will trigger your amygdala: something unaligned or something unfamiliar. So you first have to discern, am I masking because my values are not in alignment, so this doesn't feel good for me? Or am I masking because it's unfamiliar and maybe this is something that I don't know how to do? So we start there, and obviously to do that, we need to first know our values, what's important to us, so that we can create that intentional alignment. It's like creating a bridge. You don't have to peel all the layers today and show up to work like, talking everyone. Yes. Because that wouldn't
I
even
hate
be good
hockey,
for you.
everyone.
Let's take it deeper. I've always hated sports. No,
Yeah.
like, when you always go the same way to a particular destination and you start taking a different way, it's just creating that level of comfort. So it's not about changing everything in one day. It's becoming comfortable with showing who you really are. And I know that sounds cliche and easy, but if you think about it, it is difficult to be loyal to who you are when you are surrounded by people who might like something different or expect something different from you.
It's like being naked in front of everybody, right? In a way.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
That's quite extreme,
But
but yeah,
true.
I guess.
Because you become your own.
You become who you really authentically are. What I love is it's not all at once. Like, you can slowly divulge who you really are.
Yes, because we will feel too vulnerable if we were putting
That's
all
what
the layers at
I know.
once. So we want to do it in a way that feels confident and in a way that doesn't take away our talents. Every time we are masking, we're also protecting our intellectual brain. So if we're reacting to something, it's either emotionally or intellectually. And when the emotions get bigger, it's almost like, well, we are less intelligent automatically. Especially at work, we want to do this. We want to pace ourselves so that our intellect, we're able to access that prefrontal cortex and still contribute while working on our own safety.
Adriana, I'm curious your perspective on this, because we're so focused on the personal branding, but doing it authentically. and this might be me projecting from my younger self, I don't know that I always recognized what I was doing. It wasn't until I had a little bit more experience in life, like the whole chameleon and mirroring back what people were giving to me, not really necessarily being who I fully am. I was the person who said I loved every sport and would go to any game and do all these things. I think it took me time and experience. What are some triggers that could help people get to that faster versus getting older?
Yes, I appreciate your question, because as I get older and I do more research and more work in this subject, I look back at who I was. And there is this particular anecdote when I had a job at a laboratory, and it was really high stress, high performing. I was a chief executive officer. So I had to report to a board that had a particular high standard that was almost impossible to meet. And I will see some decisions I had to deliver, and I got used to delivering them. And it took me a moment to go back to what I knew was right. And we weren't doing anything like, oh, why are we doing this? But for example, like terminations, when someone came to work, it was a very numbers driven culture. So they knew if there was a number that wasn't met, they will go, because it was my corporate career, and I'm climbing this ladder, and I became used to it. But it just never felt good for me. So I think that is a great red flag. So I started getting headaches, and I started getting tired, and I started hating my job, even though I was so good at it. So I think that realization, like, what is happening here? I never realized that while I was there. But I realize now that I was putting the mask of completely black and white, binary thinking. If you didn't meet the number, you have to go. And even though I became comfortable with it, it never felt good.
Good, yeah. You
So
got
I think that
You learn to be
alignment.
desensitized by
Yes.
the whole thing.
Yes.
That makes sense.
But to that point, in that case, because it is the culture, what
Yes.
can someone do? You go to the board. This is how they think. It's not like suddenly you can say, well, you're wrong. It is okay. We should do that. So what is the
Why can't you?
alternative?
Why can't you say that?
Oh, we can. But so
Right?
what is the alternative?
At 26 years old, maybe I didn't have an alternative. If that happened to me now, I will handle it differently. There is this piece of knowledge that I want to share, because it's such a powerful piece of information. There are two types of cultures in general. It's a fixed or a genius culture. And that is the culture we had there. And companies like McKinsey and Fidelity might have that culture, which is, we look for the best. We look for rock stars. If you're a rock star, you belong here. We're unique. Everyone else has to go. The other culture is a growth mindset, where we believe that intelligence and talent are something changeable. That is Google, that is Microsoft, that is Apple. We bring for people that want to commit, and success to us is developing people. So if that happened to me again, I will educate my board on, we have to get out of this I know it all and get into this I want to learn it all. Because it's beautiful, it's fascinating. People learn, we see growth. And while you are transforming the culture and the people and the systems, you end up transforming yourself. So it's fascinating work. But at that point in my life, I just didn't know that.
Going back to my younger self, I know for me, in those situations where I felt the ick, I didn't feel like myself, or I felt drained and tired, you knew you weren't doing the right thing. So having the knowledge and the wherewithal after the fact, great. But even in the moment, something's off. So maybe to your point, that's the red flag that you say, I need to go find someone to talk to figure this out.
Absolutely. There is this concept that it has been researched about precognition, and it connects to your values. So every time we feel something is draining your energy, if you're not getting clear intuition, or, oh, this is the problem, at least we can start exploring, what is it that I know about this situation that is taking my energy? You can sort of explore it, instead of making an assumption or assuming that you are the problem, because that usually, when we feel there is no fluidity, we immediately think we are the problem, not the environment.
Right.
Really, my work is about telling people, let's condition the environment. Let's stop conditioning people to show up a particular way or fit a particular mold. Let's create environments where people can come and contribute just as they are. And maybe connect them to the idea of developing. That's really how we change that paradigm.
But then I think it depends also at what level you are, right? In a way. Because yes, you can make that you were a CEO in front of the board. I can say from an example in my previous position, I mean, it was toxic. You had to put a mask because it was not safe. At the end of the day, 11 people out of 13 in the department left. At some point, if you cannot make, you have to cut your loss and leave.
Absolutely. I think we need to put our own mental health first,
Yeah.
or mental wellness. We also have to remember when someone leaves a toxic environment to go home, we have this myth that, oh, I left work at work and I go home, but is not reality. You go home and you become not the best parent, not the best spouse, not the best human, even to your pets. Like, you're just not at your best. So I always bring that reflection. Let's create environments where people can go home and, be a better human, and not the opposite.
Know you're where you stand in that situation. You bring up a very valid point of like, yes, try, but if it's not going to work, then find a way around it.
And on that point, I've seen it too, like people leaving a job, everybody's leaving, and everyone that is coming in is getting to put that new mask, being miserable, and then leave. But the environment is not changing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always try to, when I'm coaching organizations or leaders, you have to transfer this knowledge at all levels. It's not just your executive leadership, is the individual contributor needs to learn this, so that when they become a manager, they don't become a toxic manager.
Yeah.
It's having that readiness in your bench. So every time, our boss has a big impact on our life. So putting someone in a position of power that is able to not make it toxic for that person.
Makes me think of something. As managers, how can we make sure that the people we lead do not wear a mask?
That's it.
This is a good question. Okay, so I'm going to say, understand that we interpret our surroundings based on who we are. And our beautiful brain, even though it's a magnificent muscle there, is destined to do two things that are not ideal. One, we're not wired for inclusion. We're actually wired to find our people and let go of the rest. So we have to intentionally become the person that creates a connection with each individual. So if you think about it, let's say you have 5 people reporting to you. Because we're human, you will naturally bond easier with 2 of them. So you have to understand this and work on, okay, let me authentically and mindfully bond with this 3 people in a different way.
Okay.
You can create a unique relationship with every person reporting to you. That will be one. And then number 2, the other thing about the brain is we tend to think that people are logical and we are psychological. So we need to understand that, yes, when we are at work, it's about performance and outcomes and all the achievements and things we need to do. But we also need to understand we're working with the emotions of someone else. I always say the 3 things a manager needs to learn to be a good manager. Know how to land a message. Meaning, I might deliver it differently to Jess and differently to Claude, right? That's one thing. If you know how to land the message, the next one I will say, stay emotionally regulated. Because when our emotions are big, even though I might be a nice person, I'm going to come across in a way that is going to signal to that other person, she's not liking me right now. Let me put on a mask and give her what she wants. So stay emotionally regulated. And then the third one I will say is understand your responsibility for the environment. As a manager, you are creating an environment, just like we have a familial culture at home and we're responsible for whatever people are feeling at home or for that environment. When you are put in a position as a manager, you are responsible for the environment that you're providing for those employees. So it's not, oh, we don't do it that way in this company, or my boss doesn't let me. Is your responsibility. It stops with you. You are accountable at that point.
Yeah. I love that.
Oh, wow. That's a lot to unpack and very helpful. It gives you the understanding of where you are in the journey of it.
As you do the work, you start realizing, let's say as a manager, when I'm thinking about my team, I realize how many masks I'm putting on for my boss. So it keeps you aware of your own masking when you are trying to help people that are working for you take off their masks.
Being like a safety net,
Yes.
if you will, for them. But then I wonder also is people don't like to be managed the same way, right? Because it depends on your person and everything. So does it mean that as a manager, we kind of put a mask to be able to relate to your people?
Hoping is not a mask. I'm hoping is you staying true to yourself. So instead of putting on a mask, you are letting them know that you can be yourself and still bond with them, right?
Yeah.
Still have
Yeah.
a powerful one-on-one, but you stay true to who you are and they can do the same. In other words, yes, we need to clarify that we're not expecting, like Adriana, I'm not expecting to have a team of 5 Adrianas.
Yeah.
That's really the message. You can be who you
Yourself.
are, and we can be a good team, and we can work together, beyond all our differences, we can still contribute and achieve something together.
At the end of the day, you learn from everybody. Everybody has their own set of mind, and
but even you yourself are different. Like,
yes,
I don't think in any of this we're saying you can't have different personalities for different things, right?
It's just a different communication style.
Like you,
at the end of the
you
day,
shouldn't ever have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
But you, like we were talking about, being a people pleaser versus a chameleon. Like, you shouldn't be doing it for the sake of those things. But it's okay to lean in and help fix something for someone or do X, Y, and Z. That's okay. I think that's the balancing of the two, is doing it authentically. Because if you go in knowing I've got 5 people on my team, 2 the people it's like easy peasy having conversations, these other 3 let me now become the jokester, you're gonna be like, well, that's just not me. That's not authentic.
And the people will find out.
They're not gonna be nice.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, look at that fake manager.
What were you going to say?
Love that. So I saw it.
That does bring up an interesting dynamic of when you're in the journey of trying to figure out how to still be authentic, but have those different types of personalities or relationships with these people. Is there a blurring of lines out where you almost are testing out masks to figure out how to be that different?
Let's say I'm having a one-on-one with the person that I have the most difficulty communicating with. Our default, because our brain is wired to find our bias, like, yes, we are the same. I'm going to convince you we are the same. That is our default mechanism. Instead of me trying to say, oh, I love hockey, when I don't. Well, I do, but for this conversation.
Yeah.
Instead of saying something just to send a message that we are the same. How can I land this message? Again, when you become really good at landing a message, how can I land this that it is attractive for that person? They understand that there are like those 3 elements of a good message, right? It has to have emotion, it has to have logic, and it has to be authentic. So even if we're completely different, but you see that my logic makes sense, you see that I care about you, I genuinely care, and what I'm asking you to do is not like fly to the moon tomorrow. It makes sense. Like, when you deliver that consistently, trust starts building up. There is this, Francis Frey has this triangle of the things we have to do to create trust with someone. And I love that idea And it works. I've practiced it myself. When you start delivering those 3 elements consistently, the other person starts seeing she means that. She's not just saying it. She means the message. She really cares. And there is logic behind this. This is why I now understand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she believes in it.
Yes. And doing that, it brings greater results, but it's more practical and easier to just put on a mask. It's just not a sustainable strategy.
Adriana, when people come to work with you, what would they expect?
Well, it depends if I'm working one-on-one or if I'm working with an organization. But in general, the expectation is they get a combination of behavioral science, leadership development, and data analytics. So either as a person or as an organization, I work on, let's take those poetic values that we have somewhere, and we have the poetry. Let's work on the plumbing, right? Let's work on the system. Let's work on making it real as an organization and as an individual. Let's say I'm working with a manager. You are building a subculture of your team. So it's the same. You need the poetry, but you also need the plumbing. How do we do it? What are the KPIs? There are leading KPIs and lagging KPIs. When you start building that story with data, when you're having your meetings, while authentically caring for the other person, you can still agree to 10 proposals per month and you achieve 3. How can I help you achieve the 10? Should we change that number? So having that conversation is what is going to take us to the next level.
When people start working with you, what type of support or things that they would be expecting?
Yes, they get coaching, they get training, they get their behavioral drives. We use a platform. We get all the motivators, how to develop themselves, the best way they can develop others. So there is a lot of information that they will keep forever, obviously. And then for a year, we stay with them, facilitating everything.
I'm a person who likes to fast track of things. A year's a long time. I would love to have a year to get myself back in managerial shape. But what if I wanted to do something quicker?
That is so funny. We, after our last round of certifications, we asked for feedback, and a lot of people said, we want to try something in a short period of time. So it's an experiment. It's going to be the same amount of information, but we're going to do the certification in a 6-hour training. And we're doing that for the first time, February 27th. So that we're excited about that idea. There still will be information that they get before and after the training, but the majority of the frameworks and everything else they need to get, it'll be a 6-hour chunk. We'll see. I'll report back.
Yeah.
See? That's for you.
That's for me.
So how can they reach out to you?
I'm active on LinkedIn, Adriana Vaccaro. Also on my website, cultureredesigned.com. We have all the information about the event coming up there. And also even a lot of resources. You can join the newsletter. We use a lot of training hacks and neuroscience techniques. So we try to provide information that even if you're not ready to commit, at least you're continuously learning.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Adriana. At the beginning, Jess promised the big question. So,
because everyone wants to be more of themselves at work, but let's be honest, the fear is real. If unmasking does feel risky, what's the first mask they should take off? That one that will change how people see you the fastest without putting your job at risk.
People pleasing. Embrace silence. Sometimes we think we need to fill every moment agreeing with the person in front of us. And I always invite people to embrace this practice. If you're not agreeing with what is being said and you don't want to actively disagree, silence. Not agreeing. If you don't genuinely love hockey, how about appreciate what they are saying? Don't bring it up, just silence. It's a very safe first step.
Adriana, thank you so much for being here. We learned so much. Work Besties, remember, the first mask to try taking off is people pleasing. And a safe first step is practicing that silence. So if you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it with a friend. See you all next week.
Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry.
Work